Thought Radio, music from all your favorite New Thought artists. From Jamie Lula, Karen Drucker, Gary Lynn Floyd, Ricky Byers, Daniel Nahmod, Eddie Watkins Jr., and many, many more. 24/7 New Thought Radio. Positively inspiring.
Greetings, beloved. So glad to see you on this very last day of 2020. Rev Jersey Girl here, Michelle Wadleigh, and I'm so glad you're here with us for the Jersey Girl Wisdom Show on New Thought Media Network, Radio Media Network, and looking forward to having a great time today with someone whose company I have now been in for many years in a variety of different ways. So let me introduce you to my guest, who many, many, many of you know, and that is Tracy Brown. So Tracy Brown, there she comes in. Hey, Tracy. How are you? We hear you?
I hope you can hear me. It looks like we may have a tiny bit of delay to navigate.
So this is my advice to everybody. Close your eyes. It's supposed to be radio anyway. This way, if you close your eyes, you have no clue that there's a delay going on and you won't be distracted. So just, you know, Tracy, I met Tracy many, many years ago, first as a facilitator. Then we served together on the Leadership Council for Centers for Spiritual Living. Tracy is on my speed dial for advice for important things relating to anti-racism work and inclusion work. And it has been a delight to be inspired by you, educated by you, and when necessary, being slapped up on the side of the head by you. Because we've had all those experiences. Tracy Brown is an individual, and I'm going to brag on you a little bit longer, because I only have people here that I really care about or that have moved me, or for me, carry a message to the world that matters. And Tracy Brown is one of the single straightest shooters that I've ever met. You know, one thing about Jersey Girl is that we're supposed to be straight shooters, but Tracy's got it, and she's got it in spades, and you can depend upon what comes out of her mouth. And so I'm so glad to have you. I'm so glad to have you here today. So welcome.
Thanks. And, you know, Michelle, when you make an invitation, it's almost impossible to say no. You know, my sense of you and my experience with you is that you're creative and you're committed and you're a little crazy, but in a good way. In a good way.
Well, my age is tampering. I gotta tell you, my age is tampering down my little bit of my craziness. I used to really enjoy that distinction, but now it feels like it's getting a little tamed, I have to admit. So we can talk about anything you want today. There are some very important and heavy subjects that you are in, but then there is you, Tracy, the roller skater. So I want you to share with us today your heart and what matters to you. I mean, I will pick on a couple things in a few minutes and ask you to reflect on a couple of things, but I would like you to share with us what matters to you in your heart and in your world.
So, in the context of things that I know you are really passionate about as well, I think that from a New Thought perspective, we don't do our job. We don't do our work related to creating a world that works for everyone, but even outside of CSL, we don't do our work to really create lives and a world that reflect spiritual truth. like we are so focused sometimes on our individual experience, we forget that it's related to, and it's our individual experience is a contribution to the collective experience. So I think what drives me, the two things that drive me the most are, one, making heaven on earth, and being true to my ancestry. I think those two things come up for me more than anything else. And sometimes people confuse the focus on inclusion and the focus on oneness. They confuse it with politics. And for me, nothing, not that it's nothing to do with politics. Politics is a reflection of us as people, of humanity trying to lead, but it's not the primary focus for me. The primary focus is what we are doing and how we are behaving, creating heaven on earth, because I don't believe in a heaven after earth. So I think that for me. And so when I think about, what really is important for us to talk about, and I don't think it's always heavy, right? I think it's fun to learn about different cultures. I think it's educational to learn about different people. I'm always looking for the opportunity in diversity, not the issue or fear related to it. So when we are doing that, then I think everybody has the better opportunity or ability to see more of God, not less of God.
Yeah. It's funny. For years and years, my community, as you know, my community in CSL North Jersey, which is right now totally virtual, is a fairly diverse community. And so for years, and now we've been in place 18 years now, which is a long time. And it used to be that ministerial students still have to interview people. And so I was constantly getting phone calls from ministerial students to ask me how I created diversity. And I remember constantly being stumped because, similar to what you just said, I didn't feel like I created it. I was just madly in love with all people, all cultures, all traditions. I mean, really in love with and interested in and moved by, so that I guess there was this place of comfort, but I didn't try. We didn't effort our way into a diverse community. It was the result of my passion and my interest, and which feels really good because that feels real and sincere.
Well, and in my book, Stained Glass Spirit, the very first section is titled Diversity is a Divine Idea. Like, we don't create diversity. The creator has created diversity. The creator has created different kinds of people with different skin color, who speak different languages, who adapt their lives to different climates around the earth, and who knows, other galaxies. But diversity has already been created. It's are we living in a way that creates an environment where that diversity is welcome, where that diversity is valued, where that diversity is utilized to have an experience together.
Yep. Absolutely. So 2020 was interesting, and I'm just going to call it interesting. I'm no longer going to attach it to any adjective other than interesting or maybe revealing. Matter of fact, I'm facilitating a small or short retreat tonight, where normally I facilitate a silent retreat over the New Year's. And I've decided that tonight's focus is not going to be on what we want to let go of, but what beauty can we pull from 2020 into 2021? What lessons, what values? And so I know that because that's true with the lessons around diversity and inclusion this year, because there's been massive efforts, and it's, I feel like the world has really changed its shade in this year. And so I'd love for you to speak to that, if you will, what your awareness is and what you noticed.
So I know you are familiar, as are many of your viewers, familiar with the, ancient wisdom story that gets told a lot of different ways, but basically the parable of the farmer, and every time something happens, the neighbors say, "Oh, that's too bad," or "Oh,
Mhm.
that's really great." And he says, "Maybe we'll wait and see." And
Mhm.
so all of the year 2020 for me, even in times when I was personally stressed, um, I kept saying it's neither good nor bad. It is just what's happening. It's happening. So let's get spiritually grounded and navigate our way to whatever it is birthing, because it's birthing something. And I know that something is going to be good. However, I do agree with you that a lot of the labor of the birthing process, those contractions got stronger and stronger throughout the year, related to um, especially race-based hatred and violence, race-based disparities in healthcare, race-based misunderstandings, race-based actions by political leaders. So I do agree with you that, like, the labor pains, the contractions just kept seeming to get stronger and stronger. And I'm not sure what they are going to, like, I'm not sure what the baby is going to look like when the baby comes through the birth canal.
Yeah, the I guess the place, the reason why I appreciate what happened, though, is I feel like it gave, I mean, I'm not you, and in my experience of diversity and inclusion, or some of the other experts that I have the good fortune to interact with. But I felt that it gave me a reason and a platform to bring to the surface things that I am passionate about. I mean, when we facilitated a 14-week book study with 50 people, and I think, oh, 50 people are now thinking differently. And now we're about to launch part two of that. And for me, the ultimate thing at the very foundation of all of this is creating a safe place for people to agree or disagree. Safe place. That's what I think really matters. We already know what it's like to not feel safe. We know what it's like to disagree. But I want to create a place where it's safe to be who you're being. And so that's a lot of the focus of what we're doing, and I'm excited about what's going to be launched again. I just want to take 1 minute. I'm a little past my time here, so if you're just tuning in, this is New Thought Media Network. I am Rev Jersey Girl, and my guest here is Tracy Brown from Stained Glass Spirit, and bringing her expertise on so many different things, because in addition to the diversity expertise that you have, you are a phenomenal speaker and practitioner. And I think many people probably know you to be that also. So, and I know often I see you, and you serve in Dallas, CSL Dallas. So they are so fortunate to have you be there, which is lovely. I'm a true believer in practitioners and in their role in the world. So I love that you have that. So, go
I
ahead.
I love being a licensed practitioner of religious science, and different from many people who I hear talk about, why they love it. I love it for all the normal, typical reasons of being in service, but I love it because it really gives me a reminder constantly to be in my own spiritual practice, right? To actually live what we teach.
Yeah.
And when I pray for someone or with someone else, right, I'm really praying about my own consciousness or shifting my own consciousness. And invariably, it's either about the same topic I've been asked to provide spiritual support on, or I focus there. And when that prayer ends, another one just immediately comes internally, like, while you're praying, like, don't forget to pray about this condition that you want to have changed. So I love the teaching. I love the speaking. But what I love most about being a practitioner is how it holds me true to my deepest spiritual beliefs.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I want to share with you a story that happened just last night. And it's interesting because that practitioner consciousness, it invades all of my thinking. And I know that you agree with that. I know that that's because we walk in it. When you're truly a devoted practitioner, you walk in the practice. So last night we were outside. My son, my youngest son, and I were outside in my house, and we heard there was these young boys. They were playing around, making noise, whatever. They were just being boys, until my son noticed one young man on the ground, and he thought the other young man was hurting him. So he walks over and he starts to say to the boy, "Get off of him," in a sense of protection. Well, these kids turned around and started to be surprisingly disrespectful and started telling us to mind our own business. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. But my practitioner had came on. I thought, well, let me communicate because I wanted them to know what was in my mind. And I said to them, we were only trying to take care of your friend, and we would have done the same for you. And so that was the piece of my mind as a practitioner, is the willingness to then communicate what was actually happening in my mind. Now, let me tell you, it didn't matter. They were not receptive and a little feisty, I have to say. But as a practitioner, what we bring to the world is the willingness to be more and to see everything through that, which is what I believe a gift that we bring to the conversation around diversity and inclusion. Um,
No,
yeah,
absolutely. Because when I stand in the place that the ways that we are different from others is not an accident, and there's nothing wrong with it because spirit is the source of the difference, then that inspires me to say, wait a minute, the stories that I have heard about people who are in that identity group are stories that were made up by someone human.
mhm,
What if I got
yep,
curious about what is God's
yep,
story about that group? What if I got curious about God's story about people who are transgender? What if I got curious about
right,
God's, if I look through God's eyes, how will I see people who live in that country? If I am listening with God's ears, and I hear someone speaking a different language or speaking English with an accent that requires me to really listen, but I'm listening with God's ears,
yeah,
then my story is completely different. And I also understand my responsibility to engage. It's kind of like the difference for me. I have a couple of programs that I do where it's the difference between namaste and Ubuntu. So, namaste, I bow to the spirit in you or to the seed of God within you. I know that the seed of God that created you, that's in you is also in me. But it still makes us two different people or two different entities. But Ubuntu teaches us that I am because of you. Like there would be no me without you, because our lives and our potentiality and our existence is bound up together. We are truly one. Yes. And so it's like, yes, it is my practitioner consciousness that allows me to say, oh yeah, I believe in oneness, but oneness is not sameness.
Right. Correct. Right. And you were one of the people that I got really shored up with about that subject. And I want to go back to you talking about curiosity, because curiosity to me is a spiritual practice, even though it's not listed as that. Because I say that curiosity is the cure for judgmentalism. And if we can all take on the sense of curiosity, you can't be judgmental and curious at the same time. And I actually think that that's probably why I have such a passion, because I am curious. I used to have this precious woman, and she moved away, who used to come and clean my house. And at this particular moment, I cannot remember the country she came from. But I remember one year we sat, because we'd have a cup of tea when she'd come to the house. And I said to her, what is your Christmas practice? What did you do in the holidays there? And she told me about how they would take the leaves of the evergreen or some branches, and they would put them all over the floor of the house. So when they walked on them, the fragrance would come up. And of course, my mind went, oh my God, needles everywhere. But the curiosity caused me to ask her. And then it was just, very beautiful. So we can make it whatever you want, Tracy. So I do have a couple of questions if Tracy has, because I know we're coming to a close of time. And she probably has a very busy schedule. One thing, if you are giving still at the end of the year giving, please consider New Thought Radio as a worthy recipient of your giving. This radio station needs to stay available. We need to up its likes. We need to do that on the YouTube station, because this is a very gentle way to sneak the New Thought concepts into the world by having them be very practical. And I love that we're going to be part of the same team also, which is so exciting to me, bringing the Science of Mind textbook to the world via this radio station over the next year. So we're going to be playing together with that too. And oh God, I do love the textbook. I love the textbook. So that's just very exciting to me. I don't remember when is the first week that you're on? Do you know?
So when we start Science of Mind on Saturdays, I think I am doing the third weekend in January, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, don't hold me to that, but I think it's the third weekend in January.
Okay.
But I too am so looking forward to like bringing very direct connection with the textbook and the principles of Science of Mind, the vision and the content and the metaphysical message of what is in the textbook in everyday language applied to real life. So I'm looking forward to that in 2021 as well.
One of the favorite classes I used to teach, and I would do this in the summer, because I would always do a course that didn't have homework. It wasn't a lot of reading. And the course was called Applied Science of Mind. And boy, was that rich. Sometimes we'd bring a newspaper into the room when we were meeting physically, and we would look at an article in the newspaper and say, okay, what principles do we apply here? And it was always one of the best things we've ever done. Okay, I want to ask you a couple of questions. If you could start your life over again and you couldn't do what you do now, what would you do? What would you do with your life?
I'd go back and start again so I could do what I could do now, but no.
No, come on, play with my rules. Play with the rules.
Okay, so there were two things. So rather than take the time to keep processing, one thing that I really thought I was going to become was a choreographer. So I think if I went back, a dancer slash choreographer with a real focus on choreography. It was like putting the show together and creating things with the human body. Even if I couldn't personally do it, I could see it, and I could see how the dancers could come together. And it meant a lot to me, not from an accomplishment point of view only, but because it felt like a way of expressing the best and the worst of life. And I'm sure that's partly why I roller skate now, that movement connection, all body movement.
Yep.
But I think that's one. And if it weren't that, if I went back and started over and things shifted, I would be multilingual. I would speak in or more languages, and I would be an interpreter between cultures.
Okay. I love that. I love that we get to know that about you. Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I wouldn't have guessed that. I love that. Thank you for playing with me. So often people don't want to play, but that's so great. Okay, now the next one I'm going to ask you to play again because everyone says, oh, I don't really care and I'm not going to have a headstone. I get that. But if you were, what few words, when somebody walks by, and that's where Tracy is, what few words do you want left that explain who Tracy is?
Two words, then three words. I mean, these are the things that came to mind. So if it were only two words, it would be unapologetically Black.
Love it. Okay.
I can do all the work. I can be a great leader. I am all of those things. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. And no matter what topic I am focused on, I've got to be able to show up with my cultural anchors in place. And I have no apology for being proud of being Black. So unapologetically Black would be, if it were two words. If it were three words, I think the adjectives then come more into place of spiritual, strategic, and soul. So soul, not in the context of spirit, since I already used spiritual, but soul, like unapologetically Black. Like I could do that. So yeah, spiritual, strategic, soul. So that was fun.
That's cool. Thank you. I love when someone's willing to play because it really reveals a lot about you and what matters to you. And I think sometimes we're so busy doing our work, not everyone gets to see what's in our heart. And that's great. And so I want to ask you a different question, which would the normal third question that I ask. It's December 31, 2020. You could leave one word of advice, one thing, one jewel that you're taking from this year into 2021. What would that jewel be?
Say it one more time.
What one jewel that was inspired from this year will you carry into 2021?
Choose my brain is debating between choose love and choose God,
Mm,
which in our New Thought philosophy and way of life, love and God are synonyms.
hmm
So in that sense, it would be easy, and I would probably say choose God. But if I were talking to just an open, the public, the world, I might say choose love,
hmm
so that it would be for people who either don't believe in God or have challenges with the word God,
Right, right.
that if we were to choose love, then we wouldn't have people experiencing the things that are so painful. And there would be fairness and equity in healthcare and shelter, and there would be respect being shown. So
Mhm.
yeah, choose love, because we always get to choose. We always have to choose.
Right, 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 right. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Um, and that's I'm just want to say do a little advertisement here. So if anyone, if since we are still living in this virtual, don't go away yet, Tracy. If we're as we're still living in this virtual world, if any of you listening don't want to be alone tonight, I am facilitating a workshop, not a workshop, an event for us to hear each other and to speak about carrying. Nope, that's not it. About carrying. I might be what I sent to you, but it's the wrong one. It's on my Facebook page about carrying the beauty of 2020 into 21 in a New Year's Eve event. It starts at 10 o'clock. Yeah, it starts 10 o'clock Eastern. And Diego, I did give you a link to register for that if you want to put that up there. I invite you. I invite you to join us and other people that work to be mindful in this process of life, because will constantly ask us to step up. Life is always going to ask us to step up. There's never going to be a time where we won't have an opportunity. And and I agree with you, Tracy. Going back to one of the first things you said, this thing called life is not political. Being kind, choosing love is all about human rights. And it is truly about those unalienable rights that are ours, that are our divine birthright. I celebrate you as someone who does everything within the scope of your power to bring that to the world. And I know that for you in 2021, your world is just going to continue to explode. And I believe you're doing something at the convention. Is that correct?
At the CSL convention, I am participating in a pre-conference day, a facilitation academy.
Oh, okay.
And so we'll be, I think there are four of us, and we'll be sharing highlights about facilitating meetings, facilitating conversations, facilitating in the classroom when you want to switch from training to facilitating the group engagement. And because we have all been doing so much virtually, I know that I'll be also including some tips about how you facilitate engagement even when you are online and not in the same room. So
Right,
that's
right.
coming up related to the CSL Vista event.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll see you online over in the radio station with Science of Mind. I know we'll be seeing you on your Facebook page and all your posts. And I just honor you and I thank you for being here today. And I thank you for your influence in my life. You've kept me honest about many things and kept me toeing the line. And we all need that. So I thank you for being that, Tracy. I really do. You're a gift. You're a true gift.
Thanks for the invitation. I'm always so grateful to be invited and included. And that's our work in the world, right?
Yeah. Yes, it's a good thing. So for those of you who are with us today, Happy New Year. Happy 2020. And you still have some hours to take from it, to suck the marrow out of the bones of this year, calling it good and calling it growth and calling it fascinating. And so join us tonight if you want to. And as we take from the year the jewels and the gifts and not be and be less focused on what we want to get rid of, but more about what do we want to embrace. Happy New Year to you. We'll be back here next week. Keep tuning into New Thought Media Network and Reverend Robert Brzezinski and all of the team. They are wishing you, I know, a Happy New Year. I'm so glad to be here with you again. I'll see you next Thursday. Be well.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.